Someone was arrested and was in prison for over a month for posting a Charlie Kirk meme. I wish I was joking. I wish I was memeing with you, but unfortunately, this does seem to be the reality. So, a day after the Charlie Kirk, which of course, the horrible thing that occurred, political violence has no place whatsoever in the United States. Obviously, just get that out of the way. Terrible thing that happened. But a day after the assassination, this guy named Larry Bushart Jr., who is a Tennessee man, he lives in Lexington, Tennessee, I believe. He's a part of a bunch of Facebook groups, and he decides to post this meme that I'm about to show you guys in a little bit. This meme onto one of the Facebook groups that he's in, and it's called "What's Happening in Perry County." And many people within this group, upon seeing the meme that Larry Bushart Jr. posted, a bunch of people in this group got really upset, and they notified the local authorities, and the local authorities actually ended up doing something about it. They arrested this man for posting up this meme. Now, I'm going to show you guys the meme right now, but for the sake of decency, for the sake of all that is good within the United States, within the world, I just want to give you guys a little trigger warning about this meme because, again, this is a meme that landed someone in prison for over a month with a bond of $2 million, incredibly enough. So, of course, this meme is going to be grotesque and disgusting and has no place in civilized society. So, I just want to make sure that I emphasize that, give you guys that trigger warning. But by all means, if you guys want to look at it, here is the meme that the man posted. Um, Petrifying, I know, but it's a picture of Donald Trump with a quote that says, "We have to get over it." And then it says, "Donald Trump on the Perry High School mass shooting one day after," with a little caption above that says, "This seems relevant today." Now, of course, the implication behind the meme, or at least the general idea behind it, is kind of jabbing at these people who are up in arms about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And again, terrible things shouldn't have happened. But whenever there are like school shootings or there's a mass shooting somewhere else that occurs, they kind of just turn a blind eye to that. Again, remember that at the same time that Charlie Kirk was there was a school shooting that occurred, and no one can probably tell you what that school was. Unfortunately, I have to admit it myself. I can't even tell you right now what school was shot at the same time that Charlie Kirk was. And when Trump says something like we have to get over it after another school shooting occurs, but then we have to go all out in force for Charlie Kirk, defending Charlie Kirk, making sure that something gets done about this. I mean, a lot of people are going to get reasonably upset, of course, because at the end of the day, people generally tend to care more about kids than they do about political commentators, or at least they should. Again, this is the same guy that said he was going to bring justice to all the victims of Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, and then now that he's in office and he has the full power to release the Epstein files, he refuses to do so. And it's not a hard to decipher meme. You look at the meme and you recognize what exactly its intended message is, what the message it's trying to convey is. You know it pretty instinctively. But apparently, people within the What's Happening in Perry County Facebook group were concerned that this was a real threat, that this man who posted this meme is threatening to shoot up the local Perry High School there. And what's also interesting um, is that the Perry High School that was actually shot at in real life is in a completely different county than the Perry County that we're talking about here. It's apparently a completely different one. This guy doesn't live in Perry County. Again, he lives in Lexington, Tennessee. And so he was just posting up this meme in within this group. I'm not sure why. You could make the argument that, well, he was trying to, I don't know, rile up the emotions of this Facebook group because maybe he thought that it occurred in this area, but it actually didn't. I'm not too sure. But regardless, even with the name coincidence or with the intention of posting this precisely because the name of the group is related to Perry County or a Perry County, it's pretty obvious that it's not a threat. The worst thing that you can possibly say was that he was just trying to pull on the emotional heartstrings of people who live within an area where a high school was just shot at, and he's trying to show the cognitive dissonance that exists between certain types of people, certain people of a particular political persuasion. That's the worst that you can really say about this. It's obvious that it's not an actual threat, and it's not just obvious to me, not just obvious to people on the internet, but it was also obvious to the police department that this was reported too. So the Perry County Sheriff, his name is Nick Weems. He was interviewed by News Channel 5, this just local news channel, and he just flat out admits, he says, "Yeah, when everyone here saw the meme, we all knew it was a meme." In fact, he admits that many of them have already seen that meme before. So they knew that this guy didn't create this meme. And not only that, but they also knew that there was nothing alarming necessarily about it. No one actually thought that this guy was threatening to shoot up a school. And he says this himself in the interview. But his reasoning for wanting to arrest the man, or at the very least investigate it, was just because enough people complained about it. And that's pretty much it. And I'm just going to read you some excerpts from this article because it really is crazy. So this is what the guy said. The case, Weems said, hinges on how some people in Perry County may have interpreted the meme that noted Trump's response to a school shooting in Perry, Iowa. So that's where it was, in Perry, Iowa. It wasn't even anywhere near where this guy lives or where the Perry County here is. Bouchard has sat in jail for more than a month, unable to make the $2 million bond set by a local judge. Again, that's a pretty crazy factoid in and of itself. The bond is set at $2 million for a meme. In what universe is that a reasonable bond to set for posting the most milquetoast benign meme imaginable, while everyone else is posting so much like unhinged, more unhinged stuff, even coming from the right? And so this is just ridiculous. This has everything to do with a guy coming onto a Perry County page, posting this picture, leading people in our community to believe that there was a hypothetical Perry County High School shooting that caused fear in our community, and we done something about it. So then it goes on to say, News Channel 5 investigates noted, it doesn't say Perry County High School. And then the guy responds, it says Perry High School mass shooting one day after, okay? That led people to believe in our county that he's talking about Perry County High School because it doesn't say Iowa either. We pressed the sheriff, but you also knew this was an existing meme that was already out there on the internet. Correct, Weems agreed. Again, we noted, so it's clear that he's not talking about Perry County High School. We knew, the sheriff said. The public did not know. So the sheriff himself, as well as the police department themselves, they saw the meme and they didn't think it was an actual threat. I don't think any reasonable person could look at that meme and interpret that as a threat, even though they both say, even though it's posted on a Perry County page, and then the school in reference is Perry High School. It doesn't matter. There's nothing there in that picture that indicates that there's something threatening to be interpreted from it. And that's what makes the sheriff's response to the situation just so completely asinine. So it goes on to say, News Channel 5 asked Sheriff Weems why he did not just inform any concerned members of the public that the post was clearly not about Perry County High School. And he says, because here's the thing. Whenever you're dealing with something like this and you've got multiple people that is now scared to send their kids to school, we tried to take a different approach and go on and speak to this guy and say, hey, look, this is what you're doing. And look, I do understand where the guy's coming from if his main focus legitimately is just on preserving the safety of the county or making sure that they don't feel like they're in danger, that they feel that they're safe, that they are being protected by the police department. But the issue is that they ended up putting someone in prison for over a month for this with a $2 million bail that no reasonable person who isn't rich could just easily pay off. And so if that was your alternative, or if that was your only solution that you could come up with for trying to alleviate some of the concerns of your community, then I'm sorry. The real response should have been to just tell the people who are, you know, giving you these concerns, someone who gives you a call or whatever, someone who goes into the police station, the reasonable response to that really should be, this is just a meme. You have nothing to worry about. I'm sorry, but we're not going to go bother this guy for posting a meme. It's just freedom of speech, whether you like it or not. Again, you can criticize him. You can respond to the meme. You can tell him that what he is doing is insensitive or that his political opinion is incorrect. By all means, you are allowed to do that. But the idea that law enforcement actually has to step in and do something about this, I can't think of a clearer example of a violation of the First Amendment. This wasn't a threat. It wasn't interpreted as a threat by the sheriff or the other policemen at the police department. So they just arrested this guy for a meme. They just arrested him for posting a political meme that other people misinterpreted. And now I want to also add in something even more interesting about this situation. So again, they're interviewing this cop and the sheriff, sorry. They're interviewing the sheriff, and then this is what he says, right? So he says, whenever we sent Lexington Police Department out to speak to him, and he refused to do that. I mean, what kind of person does that? Weems asked. What kind of person just says he don't care? News Channel 5 Investigates answered, maybe a person who doesn't think he's done anything wrong. A Tennessee state law passed in 2024, Weems insisted, says otherwise. As for the sheriff's statement that Bushart would not be in jail if he had just deleted the post, Chris Ergel said it shows the issue was never really about a threat against Perry County High School. It pretty much tells me he doesn't consider it a threat, Ergel said. If you think it was a threat, why would removing it make any difference? So that's true. So this Chris Ergel guy, sorry, I'm just jumping all over the place. This Chris Ergel guy is just some guy that started up a Facebook page in defense of him, and I guess he was interviewed about what happened. But he makes a good point. Like, it's exactly right. So Sheriff Weems said that if he had just taken down the post, none of this would have happened. Everything would have been fine. He wouldn't have been in prison. But that necessarily means that you therefore don't actually think it's a real threat, which again, we already knew because he admitted it during this interview. But even on the off chance that some people might actually think that the police or the sheriff here specifically thinks that it was a real threat, They clearly didn't. If he legitimately did ask him to take down the post, and if he took down the post, nothing will happen, then he must, by definition, not think that it's a real legitimate threat. Otherwise, he's a terrible police officer. Well, but keep that information in mind right now. Remember, the sheriff says that he was asked, or that he asked Bouchard to take down the post, and if he took down the post, nothing would happen. That's what the sheriff says. The sheriff says that explicitly in the interview. Now let's take a look at this other article that came out. So it's from the same people, right? News Channel 5. Charges dropped. Tennessee authorities dismissed charges against man who posted Trump meme. A Tennessee sheriff claimed Larry Bushart refused to take down a meme after being told it was causing fear of school shooting, but police video shows there was never any discussion of a school. And this is true. So I'll just skim through this initial part. It's nothing too crazy. Charges were suddenly dropped Wednesday against a Tennessee man who had been jailed for more than a month for posting a Trump meme. Larry Bushart, 61, of Lexington, Tennessee, had been locked up since September 21st. And so, yeah, so it's just going, yada, yada. But here's where it's interesting. So it says, Weems initially said Bouchard was arrested after officers in his hometown of Lexington, Tennessee, went to his house to let him know that his meme was being interpreted as a threat to shoot up Perry County High School in Linden, and Bouchard refused to take it down. Yeah, so remember in the first article, in the original interview between him and News Channel 5 or whatever, he said, like, he made Bouchard out to look like a really, really bad guy, saying that they confronted him, they talked to him about it, and he just said he doesn't care. And then the sheriff said, what kind of person just doesn't care? What kind of person just like does that? Making him out to look really, really bad. Like, so keep that in mind again, because it goes on to say, but video from that initial encounter on September 21st shows the Lexington officer appeared to be unsure about why a Perry County investigator wanted him to visit Bouchard. And I'm just going to show you that I watched the video already, and I'm just going to show you the video and put in the clips here of the interesting parts of it.
And just to clarify, this is what they charged him with.
Okay.
Threatening mass violence at a school.
At a school?
It's referring to a school. I have no idea.
I know, I'm
That's
not
what they've called us for, and I ain't got a clue.
I played on Facebook. I threatened no one. I know you don't give a
I ain't got a clue. I just had to do what I had to do.
I've been in Facebook.
I'm not saying you did or didn't do anything.
No, I did do, but I didn't feel like I committed a crime.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you did or did not commit a crime.
I may have been an asshole, but I'm
That's not illegal.
Sheriff Weems told News Channel 5 investigates that, while some in the community worried about the post, investigators knew it was a reference to Perry, Iowa. The sheriff said his agency would not have charged Bouchard if he had simply agreed to take the post down. Quote, we try to de-escalate the situation or to try to find an easier solution, Weems insisted, explaining that was why his investigator asked Lexington police to, quote, go out and have a conversation with the guy, tell him this is what it is causing in our community. And he admitted to making the post and advised that he was not taking it down, Weems continued. So therefore, he was showing the intent. The intent for what? To post a meme? Who cares? The sheriff continued. At that point, the investigator conversed with the district attorney and myself, and charges were brought on Mr. Bushart for the threat of mass violence because of the fear that he had created in our community. In fact, the video shows the Lexington officer never mentioned anything about the post possibly being interpreted as a threat to shoot up Perry County High School. Reached Wednesday by text, Sheriff Weems said he was simply reflecting what his investigator wrote in his report. Quote, he says, I've not seen the Lexington body cam footage, Weems said. My investigator has requested it and their report. Bushart had been in jail for more than a month, unable to post a $2 million bond set by a Perry County judge. As a result, sources tell News Channel 5, Bushart had lost his job doing medical transport. So this is just absolutely disgusting. This is cancel culture on steroids. And this unfortunately just goes to show how people really only care about cancel culture or about preserving freedom of speech if it's for their own political side. But when it's the opposition in question, well, then your beliefs regarding freedom of speech, your beliefs regarding cancel culture, well, they go right out the window. The fact is that there's absolutely nothing in this post that is illegal. There's nothing in this meme that is threatening. The only thing it has the potential of threatening are the sensibilities of people who love Donald Trump or love Charlie Kirk or who are conservatives. That's effectively it. Because this post isn't making fun of Charlie Kirk. This post isn't even insensitive. If anything, it's just a real political message, and you can actually use this as a data point to show why freedom of speech is so incredibly important and why it needs to be preserved, why it needs to be protected. Because the fact is, what is considered hate speech or what is considered offensive speech is completely contingent on what government is in power, what party is in power. Because under a Republican administration or a Donald Trumpian administration, things like Black Lives Matter or Antifa or whatever, they will be considered hate speech. But if it's another administration that's in power, a Democratic administration, they wouldn't consider those things hate speech. And so the only thing that we can use to determine what is and is not hate speech, if it is legislated, is just going to be the value judgments of whatever party is in power. And unfortunately, we're living in a world in which you have two groups of people with wildly different value judgments. That's why freedom of speech is so incredibly important. It's so necessary. And the idea that this man was put in prison over the most milquetoast benign meme imaginable, and that the sheriff seems to have lied about the situation to make him look bad and make him look good, himself look good. I It's just disgusting to say the least. It's really disappointing that this is where we've gotten to in this country, but unfortunately, situations like these are only going to ramp up if we don't get our shit together. But anyways, yeah, that's what the situation. I'm glad that the guy's out, and if there's only if there's anything positive that comes out of the situation for him is the fact that he has a fat lawsuit coming in.